Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get access to.
Anthony Joshua has officially begun his first day of training camp ahead of his showdown with Jake Paul, now targeted for December 19th. With the fight officially confirmed, Joshua is wasting no time sharpening his tools, stepping into camp with a laser-focused mindset and the confidence of a former heavyweight champion. Jake Paul, despite his controversial rise from YouTube celebrity to professional boxer, has proven he can generate massive attention. But this time, he faces a seasoned powerhouse with world-class experience.
Vegas, the second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that, but you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past efforts, measures that I set out for myself. Yes, it's tough. Yes, I'm tired.
Mike Coer reported that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight is a done deal for December 2025 in Miami and to be streamed on Netflix as a professional heavyweight bout.
We mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next.
Eddie Hearn has pushed back on that. Eddie Hearn also confirmed the fight, saying that it will be contested under Queensberry rules, not as an exhibition. He specifically ruled out modified rules like larger gloves or shorter rounds, saying they'll use 10 competition gloves, agreed rounds, and fight under the standard professional boxing framework.
Telling Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's no.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian, from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight. And he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers. And if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course, I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation. I think sometimes you just need to be...
He told Sky Sports that they're not interested in exhibitions. If Paul wants to fight, they are having an actual fight at a contracted weight. That said, Hearn has also cautioned that the deal isn't done yet. He describes the chances as 5,050, saying there are still a lot of conversations to be had.
Extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please, AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight. But I truly believe you're going to see.
Hearn described Paul as crazy enough to pursue the fight even though Joshua is a legitimate heavyweight monster, pointing out the huge payday awaiting both combatants. However, he emphasized the brutal risk of mismatching the inexperienced Paul against a seasoned AJ, calling it a catastrophic mismatch that could end Paul's career, literally or figuratively.
Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, 50-50 fight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitates a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But, as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world...
However, Hearn has acknowledged Paul's strategy to call out pro boxers who bring in a huge payday.
Hey, James, quickly, I watched Jake Paul the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in. He just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed-up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. No. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably. I'd be saying, yeah, go.
Simon Jordan has acknowledged that despite his criticism, the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight could actually be good for boxing in some ways. He admits the matchup will attract massive global attention, bring in millions of new viewers, and create huge financial opportunities for everyone involved. Jordan has pointed out that boxing is also a business, and a fight that blends a former heavyweight champion with one of the biggest digital entertainers in the world is guaranteed to draw money, media coverage, and mainstream interest. He believes the spectacle will entertain casual fans, generate headlines, and spark debates, all of which keep the sport relevant. While he still questions the competitive legitimacy, he recognizes that financially and commercially the fight could be a major win for boxing.
This is the entertainment business. And Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice, and he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment, and if an opportunity is presented to him, and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because I know
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having,
because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all of the nonsense that goes...
Further fueling the hype, boxing legend Roy Jones offered an unexpected perspective on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, one rooted more in caution than spectacle. He stressed the bout must make sense for Joshua both competitively and financially. Dave Farrar and Spencer Oliver discussed a rapidly escalating public debate over whether Anthony Joshua might fight Jake Paul. These discussions intensified after Saudi boxing superio Turki Alshik hinted at giving the fight the green light during a TalkSport appearance at Wembley. Alshik confirmed Paul has verbally accepted a bout and expressed his desire for Joshua to dismantle Paul in a 991-style mismatch, calling it a win-win test of legitimacy on both sides.
Merits the kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Benn Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset, so I don't have any illusions about it. Neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought. I mean, Spencer tried his very level best and will never try it again to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar but for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt. Yeah. And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him to learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license. And the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting...
Mike Sieper has raised major concerns about the proposed Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, arguing that Paul's motivation appears to be the massive payday rather than sporting legitimacy. Kopinger reports that negotiations are well underway, but still face major hurdles involving broadcast agreements and official sanctioning. He emphasized that Joshua is a huge leap in size, power, and elite-level experience compared to anyone Paul has faced, making the matchup potentially dangerous. According to Kopinger, the commercial appeal may push the fight forward, but it comes with serious questions about Paul's safety, credibility as a boxer, and the integrity of the event itself.
I want to change subjects just a little bit here. And Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing? And two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he'd probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if you want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's a perfect win.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed because it's a really dangerous fight. Meanwhile, Paul's promoter, Nikisa Budarian, has directly addressed concerns over the physical disparity between Paul and Anthony Joshua, saying, size-wise, we can get comfortable with it, reported to weigh around 215 to 210 pounds compared to Joshua, who tipped the scales nearer 252 pounds. Budarian argued Paul's strength and rapid growth make the matchup viable. He stressed that Paul's experience at heavyweight facing opponents like Mike Tyson and his rising ring development leave him feeling confident margin-wise. Across the boxing world, professionals have consistently expressed concern over the legitimacy, safety, and legacy of this fight. While some acknowledge the commercial opportunity, very few see it as a credible contest.
Does he really want to smoke? I mean, he's got to be an idiot if he does, because Anthony Joshua, let's use this as a comparison. Francis Ngannou called Anthony Joshua out after pushing Tyson Fury the way that he did, and you looked at that and he went in there and he iced him in 2 rounds. Francis Ngannou versus Jake Paul, you got to go heavily on Francis Ngannou, haven't you? So what's going to happen to poor Jake Paul if he boxes Anthony Joshua, this Olympic gold?
Former world champion George Groves has also dismissed the idea of Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul, seeing no sporting value in it. He argues Joshua deserves meaningful bouts with legitimate contenders, not crossover spectacles. Groves labeled such a fight as low risk, low legacy, and insists that Joshua should retire or wait for a mega fight with Tyson Fury, which he describes as the only matchup that truly matters for his legacy.
Breaking story on Ring Magazine. Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell the Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger. What do you make of that?
Well, Anthony Joshua was talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look,
It's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way.
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab. But at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed because it's